If you let fear control your life, you'll never build wealth. But if you master fear, you master your financial future. Most people spend their money on comfort, bigger homes, nicer cars, expensive vacations, and that's why they stay broke. But the wealthy, they buy freedom. They invest in assets, businesses, and passive income streams that allow them to control their time. Because real wealth isn't about what you own, it's about the choices you have. Wealth isn't about what's in your wallet, it's about what's in your mind. Your thoughts shape your financial future. If you believe money is hard to get, it will always be scarce. If you see opportunity, you'll create wealth. Wealth isn't an accident. It doesn't happen by chance. The difference between those who struggle and those who build lasting financial success isn't just hard work. It's vision. The wealthy don't live for the next paycheck. They live for the next decade, the next generation. They see beyond today's expenses and think about how their actions will create a legacy that outlives them. Most people are focused on survival, paying the bills, getting through the month, making ends meet. But the rich, they think beyond themselves. They ask, what can I build today that will continue to grow long after I'm gone? They don't just look at money as something to spend. They see it as something to multiply. That shift in thinking changes everything. A man once told me, I can't think about investing. I barely have enough to live on. That's exactly why he stays broke, because his mind is focused on scarcity instead of abundance. The wealthy never say, I can't afford it. They ask, how can I afford it? They don't close the door to opportunity with limiting beliefs. They open it by searching for solutions. The poor mindset sees obstacles. The rich mindset sees possibilities. There's a powerful lesson in the way farmers think. A farmer doesn't eat all his seeds. He plants them. He knows that one seed today can turn into an entire harvest tomorrow. The wealthy operate the same way. They don't consume everything they earn. They set some aside to grow. They invest in assets, businesses, real estate, stocks, skills that will generate returns for years to come. Every decision is made with the future in mind, not just immediate gratification. The truth is, if you want to change your financial future, you must change the way you see money. Most people trade time for money, but the wealthy trade money for time. They buy back their freedom by investing in systems that work for them, whether it's a business, real estate, or intellectual property. They don't just work for money, they make money work for them. I knew a man who started with nothing but a vision. He saw himself not just earning money, but creating something that would provide for his children, his grandchildren, and beyond. Every decision he made, where he spent, where he saved, what he learned, was driven by that vision. Years later, his business not only made him wealthy, but it became a source of income for generations. That's the power of thinking long term. The first step to building wealth isn't a financial one. It's a mental one. You have to stop thinking like someone who's just trying to get by and start thinking like someone who's building a legacy. When you shift from short-term survival to long-term success, everything changes. Your decisions become wiser, your investments become smarter, and your financial future starts to take shape. The question is, are you thinking about just today, or are you thinking about the next 10, 20, or even 50 years? Because the answer to that question determines your financial destiny. Money is a tool, but if you don't know how to use it, it will slip right through your fingers. The rich understand something that most people don't. Making money is just step one. The real game begins when you learn how to protect and multiply it. If you don't, no matter how much you earn, you'll always find yourself starting over. There are two critical rules when it comes to building wealth. First, never lose money. Second, once you have it, make sure it grows. Most people violate both. They work hard, they earn, but they don't protect what they have. Inflation eats away at their savings, bad investments drain their accounts, and unnecessary spending keeps them trapped in the same cycle. The wealthy avoid these traps by following a disciplined approach to money management. Think about it. If you put your money in a savings account that earns 1% interest, but inflation is rising at 5%, you're losing money without even touching it. The purchasing power of your money is shrinking every single year. That's why the rich don't just save, they invest. They put their money into assets that outpace inflation, whether it's real estate, stocks, or businesses. They understand that if their money isn't growing, it's dying. A young man once came to me and said, "I finally started making more money, but at the end of the month, I have nothing left." I asked him where his money was going. He shrugged and said, "Bills, expenses, things I need." But when we took a closer look, a large portion of his income was disappearing into things that didn't bring him any closer to financial freedom. Impulse purchases, subscriptions he didn't use, and expensive habits. This is the mistake most people make. They think earning more will solve their problems, but without discipline, it only magnifies them. That's why the rich master the art of protection first. They track every dollar, cut out unnecessary expense, and make sure their money is working for them, not the other way around. But protection alone isn't enough. The wealthy don't just hold on to their money, they make it multiply. They put it to work in investments that generate cash flow. They buy assets that appreciate over time. They leverage opportunities that turn $1 into $2, then 2 into 4. They understand the power of compounding, how a small investment today can become a fortune tomorrow if it's allowed to grow. Imagine planting a tree. In the beginning, it's small, fragile, but if you protect it from storms, give it the right soil, and nurture it with care, it grows. And as it grows, it produces fruit, not just for you, but for future generations. Wealth works the same way. If you protect it, invest it wisely, and allow it to compound, it will provide for you and those who come after you. Most people work for money, but the wealthy make money work for them. That's the difference. The question is, are you letting money slip through your fingers, or are you putting it to work? Because those who master these two rules, protect and multiply, are the ones who build wealth that lasts. Most people wake up every morning with one goal in mind: earning a paycheck. They trade their time for money, clocking in and out, hoping that one day they'll have enough to retire comfortably. But here's the hard truth. Earning money alone will never make you wealthy. It might help you survive, but it won't set you free. The rich understand something critical. There's a difference between making money and building wealth. The average person works for money, but the wealthy make money work for them. They don't just earn, they multiply. They don't just save, they invest. And most importantly, they create systems that generate income whether they're working or not. Think about this. If you stop working today, how long will your money last? A week? A month? A year? That answer determines whether you're just making a living or building real wealth. The wealthy don't rely on one source of income. They create multiple streams, investments, businesses, real estate, stocks, royalties, things that keep producing money long after they've put in the initial effort. I once knew a man who earned a great salary, 6 figures, a comfortable life. But he spent everything he made, upgraded his car, moved into a bigger house, took lavish vacations. Then one day, the company downsized and suddenly he had no income. In just a few months, he was drowning in debt. Why? Because he had spent years earning money, but never took the time to build wealth. He never planted seeds that could grow into financial security. Contrast that with another man I met. He wasn't flashy, he didn't drive the latest car, but he understood the power of making money work for him. Every paycheck he earned, he set aside a portion to invest. He bought assets that appreciated over time, real estate, stocks, businesses. He created a system where his money kept growing even when he wasn't working. And over time, those small investments turned into a financial empire. Here's what you need to understand. The wealthy don't measure success by how much they earn. They measure it by how much they keep and how well that money works for them. They use leverage, money, time, other people's skills to create wealth-building machines. They ask themselves, how can I make money without my direct effort? Because if your money isn't working for you, you will always be working for money. Imagine a farmer planting crops. The average person plants just enough to eat for the season, then starts all over again next year. But the wealthy, they plant fields, they grow orchards, they cultivate land that produces for generations. They know that true wealth isn't built in a day, but through smart, consistent effort over time. This is the shift you need to make. Stop thinking about income as your only financial goal. Start thinking about assets. Start thinking about systems. Instead of asking, how much do I make? Ask, how much does my money make for me? Because the day you stop working for money and start making money work for you, that's the day you begin building real wealth. Most people want wealth, but very few are willing to do what it takes to build it. They want the rewards without the discipline, the riches without the sacrifice. But here's the truth. Wealth isn't built on what you earn. It's built on what you keep, multiply, and pass down. And the secret behind it all? Delayed gratification. The wealthy don't chase instant pleasure. They don't fall into the trap of spending every dollar just because they can. They know that discipline today creates wealth tomorrow. While the masses spend to impress, the wealthy invest to build. They sacrifice short-term comfort for long-term freedom. They understand that every dollar wasted today is a dollar that could have worked for them in the future. I once knew a young man who received his first big paycheck and immediately went out to buy a luxury car. He wanted to show his friends that he had made it. But that car came with high payments, insurance costs, and maintenance fees. A year later, he was drowning in debt, still working long hours just to keep up with his lifestyle. Meanwhile, another young man I knew received the same paycheck but made a different choice. Instead of buying a liability, he invested in assets, stocks, real estate, and a business idea. 10 years later, he was financially free while the first man was still stuck in the same cycle. Why? Because one understood the power of delayed gratification, and the other fell for the illusion of wealth. The world teaches us to consume, buy the latest gadgets, upgrade your lifestyle, keep up with the trends. But real wealth builders think differently. They see money as a tool, not a trophy. They don't spend to impress, they invest to progress. The wealthy know that a small sacrifice today leads to a lifetime of abundance. Instead of spending every dollar, they reinvest. Instead of indulging in every impulse, they stay focused on their bigger vision. They don't let emotions control their financial decisions. They build habits that keep their money growing. One of the greatest investors of all time, Warren Buffett, once said, "If you buy things you don't need, soon you'll have to sell things you do need." And that's exactly what happens to most people. They spend their future before it even arrives. They finance their lifestyle on borrowed money, and when hard times come, they have nothing to fall back on. But those who build generational wealth play the long game. They make decisions that will outlive them. They plant seeds that will bear fruit for decades. They resist the temptation to waste money on things that lose value. They think about their children and grandchildren, knowing that what they do today will shape their family's future. So the question is, are you building for the moment or for a lifetime? Are you chasing instant pleasure or investing in long-term prosperity? Because if you want to be truly rich, you must think beyond today. You must develop the patience to delay gratification, the discipline to say no to meaningless spending, and the vision to build something that lasts. The rich don't sacrifice their future for momentary comfort. They sacrifice momentary comfort to secure their future. And that's the difference between those who stay broke and those who build wealth for generations. Wealth is not built in isolation. No great fortune is created by one person alone. The rich understand something that most people overlook. Success is a team sport. Who you know shapes what you own. The wealthy don't just accumulate money, they accumulate powerful relationships, smart minds, and strategic alliances. They leverage knowledge, networks, and opportunities to expand their wealth beyond what they could achieve alone. Most people are taught to work hard, keep their heads down, and figure everything out by themselves. But the wealthy think differently. They know that money moves through people. The right connections can open doors that effort alone never could. They seek out mentors who have already achieved what they want. They build relationships with experts in finance, law, and business. They don't just have friends, they have advisors, partners, and collaborators. I once knew a man who had an incredible business idea. He was passionate, hardworking, and talented, but he had one problem. He tried to do everything alone. He never reached out for help, never built a team, never sought guidance. After years of struggle, his business failed. Why? Because one person alone can only go so far. Now contrast that with another entrepreneur I knew. He started with no money, no experience, and no reputation. But he did one thing right. He built the right relationships. He found mentors who had already succeeded. He partnered with people who had skills he lacked. He leveraged other people's knowledge, resources, and experience. And in just a few years, he was running a multi-million-dollar business. That's the power of leverage. The wealthy don't just rely on their own skills. They tap into the wisdom of those who have already walked the path. They understand that every successful person leaves clues. If you want to be rich, you must learn from those who are already where you want to be. You must surround yourself with people who challenge you to think bigger, push you to grow, and introduce you to new opportunities. The poor and middle class often fear networking. They think it's about using people or being used. But the wealthy know that true networking is about creating mutual value. It's about building genuine relationships where everyone wins. It's about surrounding yourself with thinkers, innovators, and go-getters who inspire and elevate you. Billionaire Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in history, once said, "Surround yourself with only people who are going to lift you higher." He understood that wealth is a byproduct of the environment you create. If you're always around people who think small, complain, or fear taking risks, it's nearly impossible to rise above that mindset. But if you're surrounded by ambitious, successful individuals, you'll start thinking, acting, and succeeding like them. So ask yourself, who is in your circle? Are they pushing you forward or holding you back? Are they helping you grow or keeping you stuck? Because your network is your net worth. If you want to build generational wealth, you must build generational connections. You must learn from those who know more than you, partner with those who bring value, and expand your circle to include those who can help you multiply your success. The rich don't just work hard, they work smart. They don't just earn, they leverage. And that's why they don't just make money, they create lasting wealth. Most people grow up believing that wealth is limited, that there's only so much success to go around. They think if someone else wins, it means they lose. But the rich don't think that way. They know that money, opportunities, and success are limitless. The wealthy operate with a mindset of abundance, understanding that there is always more to earn, more to learn, and more to create. The poor and middle class often fall into the trap of scarcity thinking. They fear competition, they cling to what they have, and they hesitate to take risks. They believe that wealth is like a pie. If someone else gets a bigger slice, their own piece must shrink. But the wealthy see things differently. They know that wealth is created, not taken. Instead of fighting for a piece of the pie, look at the world's most successful people. Did they take wealth from others, or did they create it? Jeff Bezos didn't steal money from someone else's pocket. He built Amazon and created a new way of doing business. Elon Musk didn't take wealth away from others. He innovated and built industries that never existed before. The rich don't sit around worrying about what they don't have. They focus on how to create more. I once knew a man who worked a regular job, always complaining that he wasn't paid enough. He believed that no matter what he did, he'd never get ahead because the system was rigged. That's scarcity thinking. Another man I knew started in the same situation but thought differently. Instead of complaining, he asked, "How can I create more value?" He learned new skills, built relationships, and looked for ways to make himself indispensable. Within a few years, his income had doubled. That's the difference between scarcity and abundance. The wealthy know that money flows to value. If you want more wealth, you must create more value. There's no limit to how much you can learn, how many people you can help, or how many problems you can solve. The moment you stop believing in limits, opportunities will start to appear. A powerful example of this mindset is in investing. The average person saves what little they can, hoping it lasts. The wealthy invest, knowing that money has the power to grow. They don't fear losing, they focus on winning. They understand that every dollar, when used wisely, can multiply. They don't hoard money, they put it to work. The same applies to knowledge. The poor think education ends after school. The rich know that learning never stops. They read, they study, they seek mentors. They know that every new skill, every new idea, and every new relationship is an asset that can bring them more wealth. The more they learn, the more they earn. The average person fears giving. They think that if they give money, time, or knowledge, they will have less. But the rich understand a secret. The more you give, the more you receive. Whether it's in business, relationships, or investments, the law of reciprocity is real. You bring value to the world, and the world brings value back to you. Henry Ford once said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right." That's the essence of abundance. If you believe there's not enough money, opportunity, or success, you'll prove yourself right. But if you believe that wealth is unlimited, that there's always more to earn, learn, and create, then your actions will follow. You'll take more risks, solve more problems, and open more doors. And that's how the rich keep getting richer. Most people spend their lives working for money, but the wealthy understand a simple truth. If you don't own, you will always be controlled by those who do. Ownership is the foundation of generational wealth. The rich don't rely on wages because wages have limits. They don't rent their lives away working for someone else's dreams. Instead, they build, they invest, they acquire. Ownership gives them control over their financial destiny. The difference between the wealthy and the poor is simple. The poor trade time for money. They work a job, collect a paycheck, and spend it. When the money is gone, they have to work again. It's a cycle that never ends. But the wealthy, they don't just earn money, they make money work for them. They own businesses that generate income, stocks that pay dividends, and real estate that appreciates over time. They create systems that continue to produce wealth even when they're not working. Let's take real estate as an example. The average person rents a home. Every month they pay someone else's mortgage. The wealthy own the property. They collect rent, build equity, and benefit from appreciation. Over time, the renter gets nothing while the owner becomes wealthier. Now apply that same principle to everything: business, investments, intellectual property. The key is control. One of the greatest advantages of ownership is leverage. When you own an asset, you can use it to create more wealth. A property owner can take out a loan against their real estate to buy more assets. A business owner can reinvest profits to scale operations. An investor can use dividends to buy more shares. The more you own, the more opportunities you have to multiply your wealth. Look at those who control industries, the tech giants, the real estate moguls, the top investors. They don't just have money, they have assets that work for them. They understand the golden rule of wealth: own, don't rent. Control, don't depend. The moment you rely on a paycheck, you are at the mercy of someone else's decisions. If the company fails, if the economy shifts, if the industry changes, your income disappears. But when you own assets, you are in control. A great example of this is in the stock market. The average person works for a company, trading time for money. The wealthy own shares in that company, collecting dividends while their wealth grows. Who's in the better position? The one working for money or the one making money work? This principle applies to business as well. Employees earn a salary, but business owners take profits. The wealthiest people in the world aren't employees. They're owners. They started businesses, built brands, and acquired assets. Even if they started small, they understood that the key to wealth wasn't in working harder, but in owning more. Now, some people might say, but I don't have money to buy assets. The truth is, you don't need a fortune to start. You need the right mindset. Instead of spending money on things that lose value, invest in things that grow in value. Buy stocks instead of gadgets. Start a side business instead of wasting time. Learn a skill that allows you to create something of your own. The first step to wealth is making the decision to own, not rent. John D. Rockefeller once said, "Own nothing but control everything." The wealthy structure their assets so they have control without liability. They use trusts, businesses, and legal structures to protect what they own. The lesson here? Ownership isn't just about having things. It's about controlling your financial future. So ask yourself, are you working for money or is money working for you? Are you renting your life away or are you building something that lasts? The rich build wealth because they take ownership of their time, their income, and their future. If you want financial freedom, the first step is clear. Stop renting, start owning. Most people spend their lives avoiding risk. They fear failure. They fear loss. And because of that fear, they never take the steps necessary to build real wealth. But the wealthy, they see risk differently. They understand that risk is not something to avoid. It's something to master. While the poor let fear dictate their actions, the rich take calculated steps, using risk as a tool for growth, expansion, and financial success. The truth is, every great fortune was built by someone who was willing to take a risk. Starting a business is a risk, investing is a risk, even learning a new skill carries the risk of failure. But the wealthy don't let that stop them. Instead of asking, what if I lose, they ask, what if I win? That shift in mindset makes all the difference. Let's talk about how most people think about risk. The average person is so afraid of losing money that they never put it to work. They save, they hoard, they avoid opportunities. They'd rather keep their money safe in a bank account earning 1% interest while inflation eats away at its value. But the rich? They understand that the real risk is doing nothing. They know that money sitting idle is losing value. That's why they invest. They put their money in assets that grow, that produce income, that multiply over time. Look at the most successful entrepreneurs and investors. They don't win because they never take risks. They win because they learn how to manage risk. They educate themselves. They don't gamble. They calculate. Before they invest, they study the market. Before they start a business, they develop a plan. They don't jump blindly, but they don't stand still either. They understand that all wealth building comes with uncertainty, but the biggest risk of all is never taking action. A great example of this is the stock market. The average person avoids it because they fear losing money. They say it's too risky. But the wealthy know that over time, the stock market has created massive wealth for those who stay in the game. Instead of avoiding stocks, they learn how to invest wisely. They diversify. They think long term. They don't panic when the market drops because they know temporary losses don't matter when you have a long-term strategy. They use risk to their advantage. The same principle applies in business. Most people never start their own business because they're afraid of failure. But the richest people in the world, they didn't let that stop them. They took the risk, learned from their mistakes, and adjusted their strategy until they succeeded. Every successful entrepreneur has faced setbacks. The difference is they didn't run from risk. They learned how to manage it. Now, does this mean you should take reckless risks? Absolutely not. The wealthy don't bet everything on a single opportunity. They diversify. They calculate. They take steps that have the highest probability of success while minimizing potential downsides. That's the key. Learning how to make risk work for you instead of against you. Think of it like learning to swim. If you jump into the deep end without knowing how to swim, that's reckless. But if you take lessons, practice, and build your confidence, you can move into deeper waters safely. The same is true for wealth. You don't have to take blind risks. You just have to start learning. Read books on investing. Study successful entrepreneurs. Surround yourself with people who understand wealth. The more knowledge you have, the more control you gain over risk. Warren Buffett once said, "Risk comes from not knowing what you're doing." That means the best way to manage risk is to educate yourself. The poor see risk as something to fear. The rich see risk as an opportunity. The poor play not to lose. The rich play to win. If you want to build generational wealth, you must stop fearing risk and start mastering it. Most people live their entire lives relying on one source of income. They have a job, they work hard, they collect their paycheck, and that's it. But the wealthy know that one source of income is never enough. They understand that true financial security comes from having multiple streams of income. If you rely on only one, you put yourself at risk. If that one source disappears, you're left with nothing. But if you have many streams, you create a foundation of security, growth, and freedom that lasts for generations. Think about how most people live. They spend years building a career, working for someone else, and hoping that their salary will always be there. But what happens if the company downsizes? What happens if the economy shifts? What happens if their industry changes? Suddenly, that one source of income is gone, and they have no backup plan. The rich never put themselves in that position. They make sure that if one stream dries up, another one is already flowing. Look at the most successful people in the world. They don't just rely on a paycheck. They own businesses, invest in real estate, put their money in stocks, create passive income, and find ways to multiply their earnings. They understand that the more streams of income they build, the less they have to worry about financial downturns. If one stream slows down, the others keep them going. That's the power of financial diversification. A great example of this is real estate. Many wealthy individuals make their money in business, but they don't stop there. They take a portion of their profits and invest in rental properties, commercial buildings, or land. That way, even if their business has a slow year, they still have rental income coming in. The same goes for investing in stocks, dividend-paying companies, and even royalties from books, patents, or digital products. The goal is to create multiple ways for money to flow in, even when they're not actively working. Now, you might be thinking, that sounds great, but I don't have the money to invest in multiple income streams. The good news is, you don't have to start big. You start with what you have. If you have a job, use a portion of your paycheck to invest in something that grows: stocks, an online business, or a side hustle. If you have a skill, find a way to monetize it beyond your main job. If you have knowledge, create a product or service that can generate passive income. The key is to build step by step until you have multiple streams working for you. The average millionaire has at least 7 different streams of income. 7. That means they're never fully dependent on just one. If the market changes, if the economy shifts, if one stream slows down, they have others to rely on. That's why they sleep better at night. They're not worried about a job loss or a market dip because they've built financial safety nets all around them. Robert G. Allen once said, "Don't put all your eggs in one basket, unless it's your own basket." That means if you're only relying on one income source, you're gambling with your financial future. But if you create multiple streams, you control your destiny. The poor rely on one income and hope it lasts. The rich build many incomes and create their own security. If you want to build wealth that lasts, start today. Find one new way to earn, grow, and multiply. Because financial freedom doesn't come from working harder at one job. It comes from building streams that never stop flowing. Most people believe that if they just work hard enough, they'll eventually become rich. They put in long hours, they grind day and night, and they expect that their effort alone will bring them wealth. But the truth is, hard work alone won't make you rich. If it did, every construction worker, every janitor, every factory worker would be wealthy. The wealthy don't just work hard, they work smart. They understand that money is not earned by effort alone, but by strategy, leverage, and value creation. Think about the average person. They wake up early, go to work, put in their 8 or 10 hours, and come home exhausted. They do this day after day, year after year, hoping that one day their paycheck will be enough. But here's the reality. No matter how hard you work at a job, you're still limited. You have only so many hours in a day, and if you're trading time for money, you will always have a cap on your income. The rich think differently. They don't just trade time for money. They build systems that generate wealth even when they're not working. They invest in businesses, stocks, and real estate. They create products, services, and investments that continue to grow long after the initial work is done. Instead of working harder, they focus on working smarter. A great example of this is Henry Ford. When he was asked why he didn't know all the technical details about the cars his company produced, he said, "Why should I clutter my mind with general information when I have men around me who can supply any knowledge I require?" Ford understood something that most people miss. Success is not about doing everything yourself. It's about building a team, creating systems, and using leverage to multiply your efforts. Now let's talk about leverage. The wealthy use leverage in 3 key areas: money, people, and technology. They use other people's money to invest in businesses and real estate. They hire skilled people who can multiply their efforts, and they use technology to automate and scale their work. The average person tries to do everything alone, while the wealthy build networks, partnerships, and teams that help them grow. So how do you start working smarter? First, stop thinking like an employee and start thinking like an investor. Instead of just earning and spending, find ways to put your money to work. Second, focus on high-value activities. If you're spending time on tasks that don't move you forward financially, you're wasting your energy. Third, use leverage. Whether it's hiring people, using technology, or investing, find ways to multiply your efforts. The truth is, there are only 24 hours in a day, and if you're only making money when you're working, you're on a treadmill that never stops. But if you build systems, invest in assets, and leverage opportunities, you can create wealth that grows even when you're not working. Hard work alone will keep you busy, but smart work will make you rich. The choice is yours. Keep trading time for money, or start building wealth that works for you. Most people hear the word debt and immediately think of struggle, stress, and financial ruin. And for many, that's exactly what it becomes. The poor drown in debt because they use it the wrong way. They finance cars they can't afford, swipe credit cards for things they don't need, and take out loans that bury them in payments for years. But the wealthy, they see debt as a tool. They don't run from it, they master it. They use it to buy assets that generate wealth instead of liabilities that drain it. There are two kinds of debt in this world, good debt and bad debt. The poor only know bad debt. They borrow money to fund their lifestyle, to buy things that lose value the moment they leave the store. A new car, fancy clothes, expensive gadgets. And what happens? The moment they take on that debt, they become slaves to it. Every paycheck is already spent before it even arrives. They're trapped. The rich, on the other hand, understand good debt. They borrow not to consume, but to create wealth. They take loans to buy income-producing assets, real estate, businesses, investments that pay them back many times over. Instead of working for money to pay off debt, they make their debt work for them. Look at real estate investors. A wealthy investor doesn't buy properties with cash. No, they use leverage. They borrow money from the bank to purchase rental properties. And then they let those properties generate income that not only covers the loan payments, but also puts money in their pockets. Over time, as the property increases in value and the loan is paid down by renters, they build massive wealth, all because they understood how to use debt as a tool. Or take business owners. A smart entrepreneur doesn't hesitate to take on good debt if it means scaling their business. They borrow money to expand operations, to hire talent, to develop products that will bring in more revenue. They don't see debt as a burden. They see it as a bridge to greater success. But the key here is wisdom. Because if you don't know how to handle debt, it will handle you. The wealthy don't take on debt carelessly. They don't borrow to impress people. They borrow to invest in their future. They make sure that every dollar of debt works to generate income, not drain it. If you buy things you do not need, soon you will have to sell things you need. That's the trap of bad debt. Living beyond your means, financing a lifestyle instead of funding your future. The wealthy avoid this trap by making a simple distinction. If it doesn't put money back in your pocket, don't go into debt for it. So how to use debt wisely? First, stop financing liabilities. If it's not an asset that pays you back, don't borrow for it. Second, understand leverage. The right kind of debt can help you build wealth faster than just saving alone. Third, always have a plan. Never take on debt without knowing exactly how it will generate returns for you. Debt can be a weapon or a weight. The poor carry it like a burden. The rich use it like a tool. The difference is knowledge. The difference is strategy. And the difference, ultimately, is wealth. Most people underestimate the power of time. They want wealth now. They want success overnight. And because of that, they miss one of the greatest wealth-building secrets of all time: compounding. The wealthy understand something that the poor overlook. You don't need to make millions overnight. You just need to start. The sooner you put your money to work, the greater your wealth will be. Compounding is the process of earning on top of what you've already earned. It's how small, consistent investments turn into massive wealth over time. Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world, and for good reason. The difference between someone who invests early and someone who waits is staggering. Imagine two people. One starts investing $500 a month at the age of 25, while the other waits until 40. Even if they both stop at 65, the one who started earlier will have nearly 3 times the wealth, simply because of compounding. But here's the problem. Most people don't think long-term. They spend today and worry about tomorrow later. The poor live paycheck to paycheck, always waiting for more money before they start investing. The rich, they start immediately. They know that even small amounts, when given enough time, will grow into something incredible. Let me tell you a story. A young man once asked, "How do I get rich?" I said, "But I don't have much." And I said, "That's exactly why you need to start." Wealth isn't built by waiting. It's built by acting. Look at the wealthiest people in the world. They didn't get there by luck. Warren Buffett started investing as a child, and his wealth multiplied over decades. Today, over 99% of his fortune was built after the age of 50, not because he was lucky, but because he let time work in his favor. But compounding doesn't just apply to money, it applies to knowledge, skills, and habits. The wealthy don't just invest their dollars, they invest in themselves. They read, they learn, they develop new skills, and over time their value in the marketplace multiplies. Every book they read compounds their knowledge. Every connection they build compounds their opportunities. Every habit they practice compounds their success. The biggest mistake people make is waiting. They say, I'll start when I have more money. But the truth is, you will never have extra money unless you create it. The wealthy don't wait to invest. They invest first and spend what's left. That's the mindset shift. The poor spend first and invest what's left. And often, nothing is left. The key to compounding is consistency. It's not about making a big investment once. It's about making small investments regularly. It's not about reading 10 books in a day. It's about reading 10 pages every day. It's not about saving everything overnight. It's about building the habit of saving and letting time do the heavy lifting. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. That's compounding. The small things you do today may not seem like much, but given enough time, they become extraordinary. Wealth isn't built in a day, but it is built daily. If you understand this and apply it, time will become your greatest ally. The secret to wealth isn't in doing something massive, it's in doing something small, consistently, and letting time turn it into something massive. Most people fear crisis. They see a downturn and they panic. They tighten their wallets, they sell in desperation, and they run for cover. But the wealthy, they see something different. They understand that crisis creates opportunity. In fact, some of the greatest fortunes in history were built during economic downturns. Not in times of prosperity, but in moments of fear, uncertainty, and chaos. When the market crashes, the average person sells. The wealthy buy. When businesses struggle, the average person steps back, the wealthy step in. Why? Because they understand a simple truth. Opportunities don't disappear in tough times, they just change hands. And the hands that are prepared, the hands that stay steady, are the ones that come out wealthier. Think about this. During every major recession, while the masses were panicking, there were people positioning themselves for wealth. In 2008, the housing market collapsed. People were losing homes, prices were dropping, and fear was everywhere. But those who had the right mindset, those who had prepared, stepped in and bought properties for pennies on the dollar. 10 years later, those same properties had doubled, tripled, even quadrupled in value. Here's the reality. Economic downturns don't destroy wealth, they transfer it. Money doesn't just vanish during a crisis. It moves from one pocket to another. The question is, will you be on the receiving end or the losing end? The wealthy understand this. They don't see downturns as endings, they see them as beginnings. They know that when others are fearful, it's time to be bold. But let me tell you, this mindset isn't just about money. It applies to every area of life. When others quit, winners push forward. When others hesitate, leaders take action. Success is always built in moments of decision. The problem is most people wait for perfect conditions. They wait for the economy to be great, for the market to be stable, for the road to be clear. But the truth is, perfect conditions never come. If you wait for the storm to pass before you take action, you'll never build wealth. History has proven this again and again. The Great Depression created more millionaires than any other time in U.S. history. During economic crashes, businesses that survived didn't just survive, they thrived. The most successful investors in the world didn't make their money when times were easy, they made it when times were hard, when the competition was afraid, when opportunities were overlooked. Now, I'm not saying you should take reckless risks. I'm saying you should prepare. The wealthy don't strike blindly, they strike when the time is right. They build reserves in good times so they can buy in bad times. They educate themselves so they recognize opportunities before the rest of the world does. They understand cycles, markets go up and markets go down, but the pattern is always the same. Every crisis is followed by recovery, and every recovery is followed by new opportunities. The people who see it, who are prepared for it, are the ones who win. So the next time you see a downturn, The next time fear fills the headlines, don't follow the crowd. The crowd will always panic. The crowd will always react emotionally. Instead, ask yourself, where is the opportunity? What can I buy today that others are selling out of fear? What can I build today that will be valuable tomorrow? Because while most people wait for things to get better, the wealthy make things better for themselves, for their families, and for their future.